Usually the drugs were part of kind of a spiritual search, actually. So it wasn't so much drugs on some level to either numb pain or escape, but it was drugs like
to enhance an experience,
like LSD and mushrooms and things that I took to ayahuasca ceremony in the Amazon I did with a shaman. And I was a Buddhist for a few years and got heavily into meditation and Tibetan Buddhism. I tried yoga and Hindu chanting and fasting.
Became vegan.
Oh,
organic.
I was fruitarian. I lived off fruit for a while in Costa Rica.
Let's see, what have we left out? Anything?
I never tried, born-again Christianity. It was one of the only things I didn't try. It just didn't fit in the kind of, hippies don't tend to bring that up.
What drove you?
I think it's looking for meaning, looking for a life that isn't just the rote 9 to 5, kind of turn myself off and turn on the TV life. I was looking for something that had meaning and where I felt that my spirit was alive, that I felt that I could make sense of this strange life that we're in.
You say you just had never even heard the message.
The weirdest thing, the cross, that it just meant nothing to me. All these other symbols that I'd seen, the Star of David had association with Rastafarians, or the Om symbol for yoga practitioners. All these symbols had meaning to me, but the cross never even came into my awareness. It was a really weird thing, and then as soon as it did and it made sense, I saw it everywhere. I saw it in windows, and I saw the cross, in telephone poles, and all of a sudden the world became laden with this symbol that meant so much to me. That meant forgiveness and life, and
Well, we have to get you to that very quickly, because after all this world travels and experimenting and searching and everything imaginable, you were homeless for a long time all over North America. And you winded up at your aunt's door?
So I was living on a bus with 14 people, a hippie bus. The bus continued on back to BC. And I stayed because my birthday was in a week, and I wanted to celebrate with my family, and especially my aunt, because many times we celebrated our birthdays together because they were next to each other. She had become a Christian about 7 years before. And so I stayed, and the night of my birthday, she skipped an Alpha meeting where they were talking about the new Alpha course. She skipped the meeting to come to, her druggy nephew's birthday. And that night I went home with her, and that night for some reason, we stayed up till 3 in the morning talking about God, and then the next day I went to a birthday party, and the day after that I went to an Alpha course, and still nothing, but every night we'd stay up, and she had to get up for work at 7, and we'd stay up till 3 in the morning talking about Jesus, and I was struggling with the exclusivity. That was a big thing I was struggling with. How could you say that Jesus is the only way and all these other people are wrong? That was a big struggle for me. So we talked about that quite a bit, and that Sunday, I went to a worship service with her, and I felt God say to me, "Welcome home." And
wow.
Yeah, which was a huge thing.
You just heard, you had that impression.
Yeah, I just heard him inside my heart say, "Welcome home," which one of the things I went to all over the world were these rainbow gatherings, hippie gatherings, and the sign they always had above the gatherings was "Welcome home." Mm-hmm. And so God spoke a language in my heart that he knew I'd hear. And there's no doubt it was his voice.
You say, he freed me from deep loneliness and pain.
Mm. Yeah, at different times I struggled with an intense sense of despair inside my soul, like hunger. And in so many ways, God has met that hunger and provided me with meaning in my life.
Now, years before your wanderings would end, a lovely girl named Sarah got a prayer request for a guy named Matt, who was in the Amazon or something, from your aunt.
Yes.
And she didn't even know who you were. She'd never seen you, I don't think.
No. 4 years before I had met Sarah, I was in the Amazon, and I had gone on an extended fast, and I was down to about 80 pounds and struggling with all sorts of mental, emotional stuff.
You were a mess.
I was a mess. I ended up in the hospital and almost dead. And she prayed for me. She was at Trinity Western in the time in BC, and her parents were attending the same church as my aunt. And she had prayed for me. And then 4 years later, when I showed up at that church, her parents called her. She was in BC and said, "You wouldn't believe the people showing up at our church." Because I had, I looked quite wild. So
The Bohemian wild child
Yeah,
was
yeah.
now in the sanctuary.
yes,
And how many years ago did Sarah become your wife?
7 years ago.
Okay, you've got to see the most beautiful part of this story. Here's the fruit of that wonderful relationship. Anna is 5, Lucy is 3, and here is Sarah, who prayed for a guy named Matt, whom she had never seen. You enjoying being a dad?
It's a love I'd never felt before, and even just coming up here and just a day away hurts my heart because I just love those girls so much and my wife so much. So God has given me
A new story, a whole new story. Amazing. You traveled the whole world and didn't find it, but right in your own backyard, in a sense, Jesus was waiting to welcome you home. If you are in that general lostness, alone in the universe, you know what? You're not alone. There's someone who made you for his pleasure, made you for himself. And I am praying that this will be your story as it is Matt's.